Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic podcast. This is Waking Up is Easy, Part 4. In a small town, on an evening like any other evening, she woke up. Why am I here? You're at the Quiet Peace Center. You just woke up from a coma. No. Why am I here? You were admitted here after staying at a hospital for a while. You were found unconscious in a car and... No, why am I here? Doctors thought you wouldn't wake up. I woke up. Yes, you're awake. Are you? Am I what? Awake. Based on a true story. We can't do this. Why not? You don't even know who you are. But I know who you are. And I think you know who I am. A forbidden love story like no other. I guess we can skip to the big moment now. Let's not waste time sharing what I did during the day. In the end, it's all about what happened that night. The only reason it took me this long to get to this point of the story is because I wanted to make sure you understand. You really had to get it. You had to see how blind I was. I was in denial about so many things. I think I once heard a Dutch person saying something about the faucet always leaking at the plumber's house. Or like we say, the shoemaker's children go barefoot. I guess the same goes for therapists. Anyway, that night, Usha woke up. This shouldn't have come as a total surprise to me, since there had been signs. But like I just said, I chose to be blind until I was forced to see. You can interpret this quite literally, by the way. I was leaning over Usha, staring at her intently when her eyes suddenly opened. And this is where things get a little woo-woo. You know how books describe a jolt going through someone's body? Or a shift of energy in the room? Or an instant connection that feels like an X-ray machine. I'm not that great at these romantic descriptions, but all of that happened. Usha opened her eyes, and an electrical jolt coursed through my body, making me feel exposed and seen in the most frightening way. A sentimental person would say that it was love at first sight, but it was so much more than that. Believe me, I still can't believe I'm saying this. I would have never, ever said anything like this in the past. You can ask Audrey. Where are you? I know it's not any of my business anymore. I just expected you home by now. Sorry. Catherine, why are you not texting back? I'm worried. Can you just send me one text to let me know you're okay? Look, I still love you, okay? This hurts. I'm worried sick. Kate, it's 10 p.m. I'm about to call the police. Please reply. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if Audrey hadn't called the police. Or more accurately, what would have happened if I had not ignored Audrey's texts? The police would have showed up sooner or later, I guess. We would have had to call them since we knew they were still actively looking for any leads on who Usha was. There are other, even more uncomfortable questions I still struggle with today. Like that jolt. Maybe it was not an instant connection and more like a door burst open? Behind the door, there's an infinite room, like an archive, you know? An archive of questions suppressed throughout life. And what if there were possible answers on shelves too? Okay, I'm not really making sense anymore. Sorry about that. I guess you can tell I still find it hard to talk about that evening. I don't think I've truly processed everything that has happened. But I have to. There are so many people who want to talk about this story. It was like that from the moment Usha woke up. But I never wanted them to share my part of the story. I'm just a therapist who liked to sit with coma patients and their families. I never chose to become part of this story. I never wanted the whole world to know about me. But I guess that ship has sailed. There's only two things I can do now. Hide, or come out of hiding and share my version of the story. But I'm not a storyteller. I'm just... Okay, right. So let me get to the point. It's true that the first thing she said very softly was, "Why am I here?" I was indeed alone with her. I had told the night nurse, Hope, to take a break. She had gone outside to get some fresh air. And yes, I truly only wanted Hope to get a break from work. And yes, I also was really leaning over Usha because, well, that doesn't really matter. If you saw the movie, half of that scene was inaccurate. But people seem to forget it's just a movie. This is what really happened. "You're at the Quiet Peace Coma Center," I said with a trembling voice. Usha blinked very slowly. For a second, I thought she was about to slip back into a coma. But then she repeated, her voice a little stronger. "No, why am I here?" There was something so intense about the way she said it that the small hairs on my arm rose. And this was on top of the woo-woo moment that I had already experienced. So, I took a step back. At this point, Hope walked back into the room and covered her mouth in shock. But Usha kept her intense gaze solely fixed on me. I sat down on the chair beside the bed. I stammered, "You were admitted here after staying at a hospital for a while. You were found unconscious in a car and..." "No. Why am I here?" Usha interrupted me. "Honey, doctors thought you wouldn't wake up," Hope said, rushing to Usha's side now, gently grabbing her wrist. "I woke up," Usha told me, still ignoring anything Hope said or did. "Yes, you're awake," I said uncertainly, never before having felt less equipped to deal with the situation. "Are you?" Usha asked me, while Hope fished out her phone to call the rest of the team. I shifted in my seat, my mouth as dry as cardboard. "Am I what?" "Awake," Usha replied softly, her brown eyes still squarely fixed on mine. "She's awake," Hope said into the phone. "You need to come here, Maya. She's awake." This channel is sponsored by Apocalyptic Protect, the phone case that will get you through the end of times. Order your case for the new iPhone today and get our lifetime apocalypse warranty for free. Freedom Crusaders. I know I look like shit, okay? No need to post that in the comments. You know what doesn't look like shit? Let me zoom out here for a moment. All right, check out my new ride. This van was donated to our cause by a fellow Crusader. I have to say, you really are an amazing community. Mind blown. So many of you became a member after my last video. My heart, you guys. Feeling the love. Also, I can now make a very important announcement about the next steps in my investigative reporting. There are questions that need to be asked, my fellow Crusaders. You've made it very clear you will not put up with any of this. And you've put your wallet where your mouth is like real Crusaders do. I will go to Windfall and ask these questions. I will work tirelessly until I expose the full cover-up. I will be your boots on the ground, Freedom Crusaders. Now let me tell you how I plan to do this. But first, a word from our new channel sponsor, Apocalyptic Protect. I know I sure need to protect my gear while on the road fighting for our freedom, and that's why I guess Audrey waited a little longer to call the police because Maya arrived before they did. Usha hadn't said another word after asking me if I was awake. She lay in the bed, barely moving, with her eyes closed again. You'd think she had slipped back into a coma, if not for the smile on her lips. It was really disconcerting to see. And yet, I couldn't look away. I sat there next to her bed, staring at her until Maya arrived. Looking back, my behavior must have seemed very strange to Hope. From the start, it was the two of us. It was always Usha and I together that made things extra weird and extra intense. I guess that's why all these journalists still want to talk to me. I don't want to share my story with them. It's simply not safe. But I am sharing it with you now, and I hope it will be safe with you. I guess I have no choice but to trust that it will be. So, let's talk about the questions I had to face about the weeks before Usha woke up. Or maybe we can skip straight to the answers. Yeah, that makes more sense. I now see that I was a little obsessed with Usha from the moment she arrived at our center. This might no longer surprise you, but it certainly is still hard for me to admit. She arrived on a dreary morning less than 2 weeks before I left for France. I was on my way from one patient to the next when the nurses rolled her bed through the hallway. I remember how I stopped and stared. There was something about her face that looked so familiar. I knew I didn't know her, but I still felt like I recognized her. In the weeks afterward, I told myself this attraction, and I'm doing air quotes again, was in fact just my way of feeling bad for her. Just like Arthur's, her story was sad and mysterious. Usha had been found in a wrecked car, unresponsive and barely alive. She had no ID on her. The car was stolen. Before you think she's a criminal, she wasn't the one driving the car. Usha was found in the passenger seat. The door of the driver's side was left open. Everyone assumed the driver escaped from the wreck long before the police arrived. The police had yet to discover any clues about Usha's identity, which was very unusual. Anyway, it was easy for me to believe I was just fascinated by the mystery of this new patient. In the 2 weeks before my vacation, I visited Usha every day, sometimes several times a day. Okay, by the end, always several times every day. I tried to hide this from the rest of the staff, but I guess I failed miserably at that. Many of them have talked to journalists about how I was always sitting with Usha after work. And then there's Audrey. Sweet, patient Audrey. She saw that something had changed. She saw that I had become obsessed by something, or someone. This story doesn't start with Usha's waking up. It started long before that. But the world woke up to it along with Usha, and I guess this was destiny. Or maybe it was just bad luck. Like I said, Maya arrived first that night. Soon after, the police followed. Since Usha had fallen asleep by then, and Maya wouldn't let them wake her, they wanted to talk to me instead. This was part 4 of Waking Up is Easy. If you're new to the podcast, check out lesbianromantic.com to find out more, or go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/lesbianromantic, for the latest behind-the-scenes updates, which are free, often. You can sign up for free. You don't have to sign up for a paid subscription. You can just join me there and get free updates. Thank you to all the supporters of this podcast on Patreon, on the website, legacy patrons, theater members. Your support has kept this podcast going for almost 9 years now. In January, it will be 9 years. And I couldn't even dream of making it to 10 without your generous help. So I really hope we can make it to 10 together. And thank you. All right, this was the last episode for 2024 on this free public feed, sponsored by all these amazing people around the world. I wish you wonderful holidays with lots of warm moments with the people you love most. I hope that you will take very good care of yourself, because these can be dark days too. And I wish you a hopeful, fresh start of the new year.